Alright gamers, buckle up. Today we're diving into the definitive list of the top 10 NES games of all time. Or at least, my totally non-negotiable 100% flawless version of it. Whether you were blowing on cartridges to make them work, or rocking that boxy controller like a pro, these games defined a generation, and let's be real, if you don't agree with this list, well, I'll just pretend you're stuck in World 1-1 forever. So sit back, grab some snacks, and let's warp whistle our way into gaming history. Number 10, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Every fight was a mix of strategy and timing while having Super Mario as the referee, but the real challenge was to ultimately face off against none other than Iron Mike himself. His punches were insane. Mike Tyson's inclusion was actually a last-minute deal after Nintendo's president saw him fight in real life. And personally, when I finally beat him as a kid, I was so pumped, I stood up, arms in the air, and started sparring like Rocky Balboa, living the champ life right in my living room. Number 9, Contra. This game made me feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator, running, gunning, and blowing up everything in sight. It was pure action-packed adrenaline, and those co-op sessions were legendary. Plus, who can forget the Konami code up, up, down, down, left, right, B, extra lives to save the day? Fun fact, Contra was heavily inspired by 80s action movies like Rambo and Aliens, which explains why it made me feel like a one-man army. In other words, a badass Arnie. With non-stop explosions, alien bosses, and the best 8-bit muscle flexing, it's still one of my greatest run-and-gun games ever. Number 8, Life Force. This is my personal favorite shoot-'em-up of all time. The crazy level design, epic power-ups, and non-stop action made every moment feel like an adrenaline rush. And let's not forget co-op mode. Let's just say, I loved it so much as a kid. I drove my brothers crazy with constant nagging to play with me. I was the only one who never got tired of it, probably because I was busy dodging bullets while they were dodging me. Fun fact, Life Force is actually a spin-off of Gradius, but with some biological twists, and it gets usually overseen because of the latter. But personally, no matter how many shooters I play, Life Force still has a special place in my heart. Nothing beats that feeling of dodging bullets and dominating bosses. Number 7, The Legend of Zelda. I know, don't write angry comments just yet. Most people have this at number 1 or 2, but I've never been a huge Zelda fan. That said, I totally respect its massive cultural impact. This game defined adventure gaming, letting you explore an open world, discover secrets, and battle Ganon in an epic quest. And here's a fun fact. Zelda was the first game to ever feature a save file system, so you didn't have to beat it in one sitting. While it may not be my personal favorite, there's no denying that this game changed the landscape of video games forever. Number 6, Tetris. This is the block-dropping legend itself. I'm a huge Tetris nerd, and even after all these years I'm still playing, but nowadays it's Tetris effect that keeps me hooked. There's just something about lining up those pieces that never gets old. Fun fact, Tetris was originally created by a Soviet scientist in 1984, and it became the first video game exported from the Soviet Union to the US. It's timeless, addicting, and whether it's classic NES or Tetris effect, I'll probably be stacking blocks for the rest of my life. Number 5, Metroid. Now here's the kicker. This is the only game on my list that I never played as a kid, but oh man, would I have loved it if I did. I'm a sucker for games with atmosphere and mystique, and Metroid nails both. You're dropped into an alien world with nothing but your wits and gradually uncovering its secrets. What's not to love? It actually reminds me a lot of Dead Space, with that same sense of isolation and eerie exploration. Speaking of which, the Dead Space remake came out in 2023, and I highly recommend everyone give it a go. Fun fact, Metroid was one of the first games to feature a female protagonist, but players didn't know Samus was a woman until they beat the game. It's haunting, adventurous, and easily one of the most iconic games on the NES. Number 4, Journey to Silius. I love this game so much. The intense action, the sci-fi vibes, the killer soundtrack, it's all perfection. The only thing keeping it from climbing higher on my list is the fact that it's only 5 levels long, and not quite tough enough for my taste. Fun fact, Journey to Silius was originally supposed to be a Terminator game, but they lost the license last minute, but you can still see the Terminator influence in the robot enemies. And honestly, this is the only NES game that gets me teary-eyed whenever I hear the soundtrack. It reminds me so much of my childhood. Even with the short length, it's a blast from start to finish, and still one of my favorite NES experiences, and well-deserved number 4 on my list. Number 3, Castlevania. Fun fact, the original game box art for Castlevania was actually based on classic horror movie posters, giving it that vintage spooky vibe. I freaking love this game, and personally I find it better than both the second and third one. And this is one of the games that I've spent most time with on the NES, and here's my confession. Despite all these years of trying, I've never beaten Dracula. I get to the final boss and he just laughs in my face. Maybe one day, Vlad. Maybe one day.
Know thyself, young one.
Number 2, Super Mario Bros. More or less everyone has played Super Mario Bros. At some point, but you gotta ask yourself an honest question. Have you actually completed all the stages? I'm proud to say that I have, and this is the game that put video games on the map. I'm a little sad I can't remember the first time I played it, because this is the biggest star in video game history. From stomping Goombas to racing through warp zones, it set the standard for platformers everywhere. Fun fact, Mario's iconic jump sound was made by speeding up the sound of a fireball from Donkey Kong. Whether you've beaten Bowser or not, this game changed gaming forever, and it's still a blast today. Number 1, Super Mario Bros. 3. And taking the crown at number 1 is the legend this game didn't just raise the bar, it soared above it thanks to Mario's new raccoon suit, which let you fly for the first time. Mind blown. The worlds were huge, the levels were varied. Remember the giant world where everything was massive, and who could forget those Koopalings causing chaos at every castle? Each world was like a fresh adventure. But here's a fun fact that not everyone knows. Super Mario Bros. 3 wasn't just a hit game. It was literally a hit movie before it even came out. The game made its debut in the 1989 film The Wizard, where kids watched in awe as Mario's raccoon tail turned him into a flying machine.
To your station!
And let's be real, most of us were just trying to figure out how to get our hands on it after that. With hidden secrets, warp whistles, and more power-ups than ever, Super Mario Bros. 3 isn't just the best NES game. It's an absolute masterpiece. It's the reason you couldn't put down your controller and why Mario became the king of gaming. Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, like, and comment below. And maybe next time we'll grab a star and take down Bowser together.